Hey everyone, welcome to episode 34 of Novel Knits. My name is Dehnel and this is my YouTube channel where I talk about what I'm knitting and what I'm reading. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you were expecting me at the end of December, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't show up. Full disclosure, I got a little sick of myself and I got a little burnt out from the holidays, or overwhelmed is a better word. There was just a lot going on and I just needed a break. So I'm back and I'm happy to be here. If you're new, thank you so much for checking me out, and I hope you like what we're talking about here. It's all knitting, basically, and books. And if you're returning, thank you so much. I always appreciate those of you who come back time and time again and leave a comment and like the videos, and that helps get it out to more people, and it's just great. Thank you very much. I'm coming to you from my living room in southeastern Wisconsin. Yes, it's a new space. This is, I think, going to be the new space where I record. I used to record in the basement because that's where my work office was, that's where most of my yarn was, and I was spending a lot of time down there. And I don't spend time down there anymore because we moved me out of the basement, and now my husband is working down there and I'm working on the main floor of the house. It's good for both of us. My husband wanted to get out of the bedroom. He just felt like he was spending his whole life in one room, which is terrible. And I was really cold and unhappy in the basement. Plus I had all my yarn stored around me, which sounds great, right? Except my day-to-day job is not yarn related, so it was a little distracting. So we did some moving and shifting and it felt really good, and I really like my new workspace. And yeah, I'm on the main floor. It feels great. Natural light, here we go. I am coming to you from the future. As we go on through this video, it will go to the afternoon, to the early evening, and then back to this time of day, because I recorded this intro earlier and I was really unhappy with it, so I'm trying again while drinking a gin and tonic to see if relaxation helps a little bit. If you want to find me on Instagram or Ravelry, I'm Novel Knit Girl in both places, and if you're interested in connecting on Goodreads, just search for me on there. Dehnel is how you spell my first name, and someone looking like me should pop up. She's probably a little younger than me, maybe holding a baby, but that's me. I record every book that I read on Goodreads. I record every project that I knit on Ravelry. I really enjoy both of those platforms to be able to track my work and my reading. I have a very type A side of me that likes to have lists and have goals and be able to check them off, and both of those platforms give me that opportunity, which I enjoy. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about my year in review, just give you a couple stats, and then we will jump back to the past and I will show the sweaters that I knit. I will show my one finished object for today and my works in progress. And Happy New Year! We made it, 2023. If you participated in either of my 2-year-long make-alongs or both, I'm going to be recording a very short episode in a few days to just recap, celebrate the end of the make-alongs, and post the winners. So I wasn't able to get that together for today, but that will be coming by the end of the week so that we can wrap that up and I can send out and deliver prizes, because you guys really showed up. It was sort of one of those situations where I planned a party and didn't think anyone was gonna come, and then you guys did. So thank you to everyone who participated, Shop Your Stash, and making sweaters. It was awesome, it was fun, it was inspiring if you ask me. I have a Ravelry group where you can look at what everyone's done. It's just so exciting. Novel Knits podcast group. Everything I talk about today and all the places you can find me will be listed below this video. So sometimes I talk fast, sometimes I say the wrong words. Everything under here, it's correct. This is not always correct, that usually is. So for my year in review, I had a goal for knitting to complete 40 projects on Ravelry. I use the challenge feature on Ravelry. You can put in at the beginning of the year how many projects you would like to complete. You can dig in deeper to that, like you can say when you want to complete them by. I'm sure you can do more sorting. I use it in the most basic way possible, which is when I complete a project, it shows up in my tally, and then I just kind of look at it at the end of the year. So I wanted to complete 40 projects and I completed 56. So I reached 140% of my goal. I wanted to, I think, make around 16 sweaters. I came in at 12. That's not too shabby. I'm really okay with that. So I completed 12 sweaters. 10 were adult, which I will show you in a few moments. One was a baby sweater and one was a dog sweater. I also completed 20 pairs of socks, and only 4 of those were from cranked tubes. That seems like a lot more than normal for me. I made 3 shawls and 1 cowl, 11 hats. Most of those were in the last 2 months. And then I made some other random things, like a fidget square, a can koozie, that tree that I made for Christmas that turned out kind of wonky, but I still made it, a gnome, a phone coaster, a snowman, and a bunch of ornaments. So I'm pretty happy. It was great. I smashed my goal out of the park and I couldn't be happier about it. I did have some takeaways from this year, a few things that I learned about myself or my knitting. I think it's always good to reflect if you have some lessons. I think the main thing that I learned is going into 2023, I had big number goals last year, and this year I want to have quality goals. I'm gonna go for quality over quantity. I really want to work on my finishing. I would like to work on just making sure that, especially when it's a garment, that I'm putting in the effort to make sure that it's something that I love and has a place in my wardrobe. It's evening, I've had a rough night, so I'm having a gin and tonic. I don't love hand-dyed mohair. I may change my mind, but as it stands right now, I prefer commercial mohair. And I do have a few skeins of Surrey alpaca in my stash that I think I am going to try to use in the next year to see if I like that more than mohair. This does not mean that I'm gonna stop using mohair. I'm just not sure that I feel like the hand-dyed mohair that I use this year sheds more than commercial. Hats are quick, fun, and portable, and I should make more of them. I tend to think only of socks for portability when I'm in the car or at a baseball game or dance competition, and I could easily bring a hat as well. I'm not sure if I love shorty socks. Jury's out. I made a couple this year, and I don't know if it was the pattern or if I just don't like them. So I'll try a few more, but I'm unsure. I don't wear shawls, ever. I don't like styling them. I don't think I'm good at styling them, but I'm not gonna stop making them. I am going to try to make more stole or wrap style shawls instead. Things that I can wear more as a scarf, as outerwear. I'm just gonna change my approach, I think, because shawls are the most fun thing to knit, in my opinion. You can play with color, texture, it's fun. So I'm not gonna stop making them, but I'm gonna just try to adjust my approach. I don't love knitting socks 2 at a time, at all. Slows me down, I'm not a fan. I'm gonna stop doing it. So yeah, so my goals and intentions for 2023 are to focus on quality for my wardrobe. It's just something that I have to work on. I'm not gonna do any test knits. I really love test knitting. There are a lot of benefits to test knitting, like early access to a pattern, getting to give feedback to the designer, getting a pattern for free. Sometimes they'll even give you a second pattern for free, getting to meet other knitters and having like a fun social space. But I did find that last year test knits kind of pulled me away from some of the things I wanted to make. So I just want to have a selfish year. I just want to not knit for anybody else for a year. So I'm going to take test knitting off of the agenda, off my plate. I'm going to make more socks for other people. I have enough. Doesn't mean I'm not going to make any for myself, but I'm going to make more for other people. I want to get through some of the sock tubes that I have. That is a double investment for me. I paid for the yarn and I paid someone to crank the tubes. So I want to use those. I want to have fewer whips. That's always a goal. I'll never get there, but you know, it's worth putting out into the universe. Maybe I'll get there someday. And I'm gonna knit for joy. I just want to always be happy with my knitting. I don't want to feel stressed out. I don't want to feel like I'm letting people down. I just want to knit what I want to knit. So I'm not doing any numbers. I did put a number in Ravelry, but I'm not like putting pressure on myself this year. If I knit a bunch of sweaters, I'll knit a bunch of sweaters. I plan to, but I'm not gonna throw numbers on it this year. That's just my approach this year, is knitting for joy. I'm gonna knit the things that make me happy at the time, what I want to make at that moment. So those are my goals. And yeah, so now we're gonna jump into the sweaters that I knit this year, and it is gonna be earlier in the day. So I'm gonna quickly go through my sweaters that I made last year. This is gonna be very fast, so I'm not gonna give a lot of detail. I'm just gonna show them kind of my thoughts after finishing them and wearing them, if anything has changed. And yeah, if you want more information, just check out any of the previous videos where I've talked about them more. So I'm gonna start with a couple of my favorite sweaters from the year. The first is for sure my Stratified sweater by Tif Nailan. This is out of the worsted book. I used La Vienne May. It is definitely one of the priciest sweaters I've ever made, but it is a showstopper and I love it. It is just a raglan. The yarn's fantastic. The pattern is fantastic. I did accidentally felt it a little bit, so I'm a little upset about that. I went to Santa Fe, New Mexico for a business trip. It was freezing. I ended up wearing this a lot and on the plane, so I put it in the washing machine on the wool cycle, which I thought would be okay. It's not ruined, but it's not great. So I think I'm gonna try to put it, just do another hand soak and block it out a little bit. Hopefully it'll be all right. It still fits, it's just a little bit snugger, I guess. The Throwover by Andrea Mowry. I wear this all the time. I love it. I made this out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. I followed Laura from I Heart You podcast and I Heart Knitting Etsy shop, her palette exactly. So she was going for copying Andrea Mowry's original palette in Spin Cycle, but with a more affordable option. And so that's what I did. And I really like this one. I wear it quite a bit. Now onto a less successful sweater. It is my Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie Made Designs. I really wanted to love this, and I do like it. I misread my gauge. When I did a gauge swatch, I was 1 stitch short per inch. So I should have gone up a needle size, but I went down. So this made the sweater a little bit smaller, and then I had this great Lavender Loon yarn called Shadow Singer, and I held it with Knit Picks Aloft, and it's so fuzzy and cozy and I love it. But then I did not alternate skeins and I have a big separation. So I am not giving up on this one. I'm going to think about it for a while. I will not make, if I do anything with this, it will be to donate it, but I want to keep it for at least a year and see if I find a place for it in my wardrobe. In my head, I thought, oh, it'd be really cute with overalls. And then I thought, I have never worn overalls in my life, so I'm not sure that's an option for me, but it was a thought that I had. Another sweater that I'm really happy with is my Love Note by Tin Can Knits, and I made this out of Sweet Skein O' Mine. It's her fingering and mohair in the blush color. I really like this. It works really well. I love the fit. It's oversized. The only modification I made was short sleeves, and it's great. However, this is the one where mohair sheds all over the place when I wear it. But like, it's all on my face now. But I do really like it. It's a gorgeous sweater, and I think I'll make another Love Note possibly this year because it is a sweater that goes pretty fast. This is probably this is definitely my least favorite sweater of the year. This is my Rocket Tee by Tanis Lavallee. I just am not happy with the finished object. The yarn has a lot of pooling and flashing, which I didn't see when I was knitting it, and I just don't love. It's also probably too big for me, and I can't style it well with anything. So I'm gonna hang on to it for a year and see how I feel. What I should have done is I should have done ribbing instead of the I-cord edging on the sleeves and the bottom, because that's really something I'm not happy with, and I'm not going to take it out and change it. I don't have it in me. And really it's kind of the yarn flashing that I don't love. I don't know. So I'm just gonna see. Maybe I haven't found the right jeans to go with this one. We're just gonna see. I'm not getting rid of it at this point, but I will say it's not one that I'm really happy with. This is my Quill Tee by Tif Neilan. This was a test knit and I used magpie fibers. I love everything about this. It's got this really cute picot edging on the bottom, twisted rib detail. The only thing I wish I would have done differently is chosen a less busy yarn for the main color. But other than that, it fits really nice and I really, really like this one. Then we have, okay, this is another test knit. Okay, this is the Tif Neilan test knit trio here. This is the watercolored pullover. I really like this one. This is holding 2 skeins of DK double to make a bulky weight. These are not normally my colors, but I actually wear this quite a bit. The green and the cream are from Yarn Cafe Creations, and I held 2 yarns double to make the main body, and I don't remember what they were. Not even a little bit. But I'm really happy with this one. I wear it quite a bit. For someone who doesn't wear pink, I made a lot of pink sweaters this year. Or had pink in a lot of my sweaters, so I don't think I can say that anymore. Then this was my most recent test knit for Tif Neilan. This is the Notion. This one is holding 4 strands of fingering to make bulky. There are a lot of things I like about this. I love the color. I really like the detail on the cuff. It's a split garter cuff and it's really cute. This is one where I've made a lot of patterns of Tif Neilan's. I did not gauge swatch. It came out big. I look kind of frumpy when I wear it. I think it'll have a place in my wardrobe as like a heavy, keep me warm sweater, but I don't think I'll ever make another sweater where I hold 4 strands of yarn together again. And really this was me cutting corners, and sweaters take too much time and the yarn costs too much for me to cut corners. So this was kind of a lesson that I learned, and it's still a good sweater. It's great. It's just, if I would have taken a little bit more care, it would have been a staple in my wardrobe, because I really love the marl that these colors did together. And finally, this is another favorite one. This is the Reluctant Homeschooler by Caitlin Hunter. I made this holding 2 skeins of Knit Pick City Tweed held double. This is a very thick and dense sweater. It has afterthought pockets, which I really like, and were pretty easy to do. And these buttons by Katrinkles that are oversized. This one I really like. It has not been cold enough this winter to really wear it, but it is a great sweater and probably one of my favorites. So out of all my sweaters, I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that will be like 6, because my new finished object 2. So 6 sweaters that I can see myself wearing a lot. And then a couple that I'm just not sure about. So overall, I'd call it successful. It's not bad. All right, I'm going to take a break, and then I'll come back with my finished object and my works in progress. Okay, I have one finished object today, and that is my Harvest by Tin Can Knits. I made this out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the Shire Heather color. I think it blocked out beautifully. There's not much to say here. It's a very basic pattern. It is free, and it is very size inclusive. So it goes from baby to pretty large adult. So pretty much anyone can make it, which is awesome. And one of the things that I really love about this sweater is once you establish the neckline, when you work on the body of the sweater, you incorporate this garter button band into the body, so you don't have to go and pick it up later, which is a standout. I made this long. So I first casted it off on New Year's Eve, and it was short. I tried it on, I was like, this is not long enough. I made the medium large size. And so on December 1st, I unraveled the bottom, the hem, and I added quite a bit of length. So now it hits me about mid-thigh, and I'm really happy with it. I think this is gonna have a really great place in my wardrobe, and I really probably should have just tried this on for you, but I didn't think about that. But yeah, and this yarn blocked out beautifully. I'm in love with it. I've become a huge fan of Love the Andes this year, which is good because I have a lot of it. But it's a very affordable option for sweater knitting. It comes in a lot of different colors. It's great for color work because it comes in 50-gram balls, and you know, it's not merino soft, but it is soft. It's not, unless you're super sensitive, I don't find it scratchy. So I'm a big fan of it, and I love this green color. There's gonna be a lot of green in my life for 2023. I'm leaning into it. It's my favorite color, and I've just decided, I keep saying like, I shouldn't do so much green, but why not? I'm knitting green if I want to. So my first work in progress is for my husband. He and my son both have birthdays at the end of this month. So I'm making something for each of them, and I'm still waiting for the yarn to start my son's gift. I'll talk about that in a minute. But my husband wants for, you know, we get snow generally in Wisconsin, though not this year yet. But he wanted, I think they're called a baklava, like a ski mask for when he has to go out and shovel the driveway. Yeah, so this one is by Arne and Carlos, and it is called the Ronja, I believe. I'm not doing any color work. It is all gonna be one color. I'm using this yarn from Night Owl Fibers. This is a kettle dyed tonal called Winter Woods. My husband picked it out. It is like a gray beige with speckles of blue in there. And I'm holding 2 skeins of fingering double to make DK. And right now I am just in a sea of 1x1 ribbing, and it is a pretty relaxing knit. It's easy. I actually pull this out when I have a meeting at work where I can just engage and keep my hands busy. 1x1 ribbing or 2x2 ribbing is great for that. So it's coming along great. I think I have like a couple more inches before I split for the eyes. And then shortly after that, I get to do stockinette, which I'm really excited about because I don't hate ribbing like I used to, but it's still not my favorite. So I'm excited to get out of the ribbing. My son has asked for a scarf, and I ordered some Knit Picks Capra DK because he wanted like a black or charcoal, and I didn't really have anything laying around that would work. So once that comes in, I will be casting on a scarf. If any of you have any great scarf patterns, please let me know. I was looking at Ravelry a little bit and nothing was really catching my eye. I want something mindless, but spectacular. You know, I'm not asking for much. So if you have any ideas, just let me know. That would be great. Okay, let's go into my second whip, which is my Advent socks. I was totally gonna go a different direction, but I'm gonna go here because this one's next to me. I'm still working on these. They're coming along great. This is the Woolens and Nosh 2022 Advent skein of yarn. I love everything about it except that I'm knitting them 2 at a time. There are 24 stripes, and I'm into a second repeat of the stripes. So this was the 24th, and then I'm repeating the stripes now. I did add my heels last week, so I think I'm going to add about 4 more stripes in, color stripes in, and then I'll try them on and see how close I am to toes. I'm not going to be using the contrast color for the toes. I'm just gonna do the toes and the stripes, which these stripes are a little bit off. You can tell here, they're about a row apart. So you'll probably be able to see that in my toes, but I don't really care. I love this yarn and I wanna wear them. I wanna wear the socks. They are such happy colors and I love them a lot. So I've been seeing other people finish theirs and I wanna join the club. So those should be done soon. And then I did cast on a couple sweaters at the beginning of the year. The first one is the Metropolis. If you've been here before, you probably heard me say that I am going to be casting this on, and here it is. So this is a pattern by Tanis Lavallee, and you can see this is a turtleneck with a lot of ribbing in the body and the arms. The yarn I'm using is Tanis Fiber Arts in this color, actually called Metropolis. I thought this was a pretty gray color, and it is not. It is a lot more mint blue with pinks and purples. It's a much more feminine color than I was expecting. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not what I was expecting. So I've had some issues with this so far. The first one was that you start the sweater with a cast on. It is paid for pattern, so I'm not going to give too much away, but then you do short rows. And the short rows they called for in this pattern are wrap and turns, which are not my go-to for short rows. I generally do German short rows, but I thought I'm gonna learn a new skill and I'm gonna do the wrap and turns. And I really struggled with it. I had to frog about 4 times, and I'm still not totally happy with how the short rows resolved over here. So there were really good instructions for doing the short rows and resolving them when you come back to them. But then you do a final short row on the purl side and you wrap and turn, and then you start to knit around a whole sweater again. And then when you get back to that wrap and turn, there were not good instructions on how to resolve that wrap and turn that you did on the purl side on the knit side. So I found a video and it's still not great. And now I'm a little worried about yardage. I'm concerned I'm gonna run out of yarn. So what I did is I added the turtleneck, and I did the turtleneck about 1 inch shorter than it says to in the pattern. So I may go back and add that extra inch in time, but for now I just wanted to make sure I had a turtleneck. And then I split for the sleeves, and I'm doing the first arm, and I'm going to see how much yarn I have left over after this first yarn, because the important things for me in this sweater are the turtleneck and the body length. So once I have those 2 things, if I can have full sleeves, I'll have full sleeves. If I need to do more of a bracelet length or a short sleeve, then I can go back and do that. The other thing that I've noticed is after everything I said at the beginning, I decided not to alternate skeins, and I'm getting some flashing and pooling. The good news is this is bulky yarn, and I can go back and I can undo that, and I can start to alternate skeins if it bothers me. Once I finish this sleeve, I will try it on again with the turtleneck and the sleeve and see where things are at. I know I still need quite a few inches in the body. And I have, I think, 3 full skeins and, some partial skeins left. So hopefully I have enough yarn to make a sweater I'm happy with in the end. And yeah, I'm gonna have to add that inch onto here just to cover, I think, this, because it is on the front and I don't really want that to be something that people focus on. But overall, I'm happy with this. I think the color is not what I expected, but I actually think it'll be nice in my wardrobe and be something a little bit different than what I would normally gravitate to. As we all know, I love gray and gray speckles, so this is kind of just a variation on that, and I think this will be a great sweater when it's done. I'm not going to talk about my bags today because I am running out of battery on my phone because I've had a lot of starts and stops here today, so I'm just going to power through my last couple works in progress. I started another sweater as well. This is the Folklore sweater. This is a pattern by Alexandra Tavel, which is 2 of Wands. This is a chunky sweater, and I bought this kit off of Lion Brand. And the nice thing about Lion Brand kits is it's all, like, you don't have to think too much. It's all there for you. They tell you, like, this is the yarn you need. If you want to switch colors, you can. I did not switch colors with this one. If you need to buy needles, you can. If you need any other supplies, you can purchase them at the same time. I usually wait until there's a sale because these are already pretty affordable kits, and then I will buy them when they're on sale, and yeah, now I'm trying to use them. So the yarn I'm using is Hue and Me by Lion Brand Yarn, and this is a mainly acrylic yarn with, I think, 20% wool. It's very chunky, and it's okay. The yarn does say it is machine wash and dryable. I don't think I'll ever put it in the dryer, but it's good to know that it's machine washable. So I have spent like 3 or 4 days working on this, and here it is. So I finished the colorwork yoke, and yeah, I've made a few unintentional modifications. One is, you can see, like, there's 3 color charts, and after each one you add some stitches, and I had missed that after the 3rd color chart. So I added my extra stitches about 4 rows underneath, but I actually think that was a benefit because I looked at some people's pictures on Ravelry, and you can see like some puffing out beneath the color work on some people's projects, because I think it goes from like your tension changes a little bit. So I think that helped with the tension change. And then the other thing is I somehow missed short rows. You're supposed to do some before you split for sleeves, and I missed that in the instructions. So my plan is to just add them in at the bottom of the sweater, kind of like what you do in the love note. But I did try this on. It's fitting. I think it's gonna be good. It's pretty dense. My gauge is right on, but it makes a pretty dense fabric. This is definitely going to be an outdoor sweater for me, or like if the furnace goes out in the house, I think this is going to be quite warm. And this also has a turtleneck. You'll see turtlenecks are a theme in my life right now. I want everything cozy. So yeah, this is coming along nicely, and this goes pretty quickly. That's the joy, I guess, of bulky and chunky weight sweaters, and this is helping me get some of those large skeins of yarn out of my stash. Okay, I have 2 more works in progress I'll talk about really quickly. I started another pair of socks. These are called the Let's Stay Home socks by Nancy Wheeler. She is Knit Sip Happy on Instagram and YouTube. She's got a great YouTube channel, so check her out. And here they are. This is a free pattern. So she does a lot of patterns that she has created quite a few lovely patterns this year, and she decided to release this one for free. Sorry, my daughter is calling and my husband is going to pick her up from school right now, so I'm a little distracted. But anyway, it's just a beautiful 6-row repeat with pretty easy cables, and yeah, you can cable without a cable needle, and this is a great fun textured pattern if you're looking for a new sock in your life. And Nancy's patterns are always wonderful. The yarn I'm using is the Creative Knitter, and if I'm not mistaken, this is one of her early colorways, and it is called Goodnight Oh Hi, and I believe that's a Brothers and Sisters reference. And that show, Brothers and Sisters, got me through having babies. I think I watched the whole show when I was on maternity leave with Milo. So I love that show, and I really wanted to have this yarn. It's gorgeous yarn. The colors are just spectacular, and I'm really happy. These are great. She is doing a knit along. I am likely not going to finish in time for the knit along, but they're coming along great. Hang on. Sorry about that. I had to answer my daughter so that she knew my husband was coming to pick her up. And then finally, for my last work in progress, it's another free pattern. It is called the Free for All Cowl. This is a pattern by Jennifer Peck, Webster Street Knittery. And this has been on Ravelry forever. Like I said, it's a free pattern. I had gotten some Quivet yarn from my parents a couple of years ago. They went to Alaska. We took care of their house. I fed their birds in their backyard, which turned out to be a scary experience. One day I came in and I swear to God, there were 80 birds staring at me, and I just backed into the house, closed the screen door, and I was like, no, you guys have had enough. I'm not feeding you anymore. I don't really have a fear of birds, but I sort of do when there's 80 of them. Yeah, so that was a little frightening. But anyway, they wanted to do something nice for me, and they purchased me some Quivet yarn, which is yarn from like an ox's, it's like their under, I looked it up once, but it's very warm yarn that comes from an ox. So this is the Quivet yarn. It's like lace weight, but not mohair-ish. And I had originally made a beautiful lace scarf with it, and I thought that's lovely, but I have no use for that. And this is some of the warmest yarn there is. So I wanted to use it to make something that would give me some warmth. So I cast on the Free for All shawl, and I'm holding the Quivet yarn with this Leading Men Fiber Arts. This is King Max. It's their worsted base, and yeah, it's coming along really well. So it's a little busy holding the 2 yarns together, but I like the effect anyway. So this is a super easy pattern, knits, purls, yarn overs, you know, knitting 2 together, and it makes a gorgeous little pattern. So you start with a provisional cast on. So once you get to a certain length, then you sew it together. This will probably go on the back burner until I finish my husband and my son's knits for their birthdays, but I'm hoping to have this for sometime this winter. And this is not how it's gonna be on my neck. It will be going this way. So I'm really excited about this one. I've had it in my queue for a long time and I'm excited to finally be casting it on. So that is it for my works in progress. I'm going to have to take another break because the kids are coming home from school soon and we have to get them to all of their things tonight. So I'll try to jump back on here later and do book club so that I can get this edited and put on YouTube for you all. All right, evening gin and tonic Dehnel is back to talk about book club. I like my knitting goals. I always make a reading goal every year. I used to start really high, like 90 books, and I just was never getting close to that. So this past year, I set a goal of 50 books and I read 65. So again, I smashed that out of the park. I'm really proud of myself. I love to read. It makes me so happy. I love living in two worlds at once. And I think that's the great thing that Audible has done for me, is it gives me that opportunity to be making dinner or taking my dog for a walk or knitting on the couch and being able to engage in a different world. And that is something that I love. I also do read hardcover books. But those, it's just not as portable for me. I'm not one of those people that can turn pages and knit at the same time. It's a bit much. I've tried it. It's not my favorite, but I love to read. So some of my favorite books from last year are The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I thought that was it was the first kind of romance that I read that was like that took place in kind of a scientific STEM environment. And I just really thought it was charming and I enjoyed it a lot. I also have to put up there The Year of Less by Cait Flanders. It's not for everybody. I'm by no means a minimalist, but I go back to that book a lot, just in trying to adjust my life and how I feel about, say, my yarn stash. I'm never going to be someone who's got no yarn. I'm never going to be Nitty Natty who's got zero stash. That's not what I want out of my yarn stash, but I think that we can learn to need and want less and make adjustments in our life. I work for an environmental organization and I think that we can be very wasteful. And I personally am on a very long and winding road to becoming less wasteful, more sustainable, in general. So that I would recommend it. It's not a perfect book, but it's good. Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. This is a book that I loved. I just thought it had kind of a unique backward timeline and a good mystery, I just thought it was a well-executed book. I would definitely recommend that. And then The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. It's a kind of sliding doors type of book. And if you're too young to know what sliding doors is, that was a movie in the 90s with Gwyneth Paltrow where, she had one timeline when she made one choice and walked in on her husband cheating on her, and then another choice where she didn't walk in and continued her life with that husband. And then you kind of see how your life could take two different paths. That is probably one of my favorite type of books, and I'm not going to apologize for that. And I thought this was done really well. So it kind of laid out different possible universes, kind of like a multiverse. Like if you made different decisions, this is what your life could look like. And then I thought it was really, really great. So the last book that I read for 2022 was called A Curse of Blood and Stone by K.A. Tucker. I ended up giving it 3 stars. If you watched my Vlogmas videos, you'll know I was like, I don't even remember what this book is called. I can't get into it. I had a really tough time. I think it was because of the holidays. But I ended up getting to a point where I did enjoy it at the end. It's a fantasy book. I think it's pretty good, actually. It's very similar to a lot of other fantasy books I've read, but I did enjoy it. I'll probably finish off the trilogy. If it's more than 3 books, I may not, but I liked it enough. And then I started reading a ton at the beginning of the new year. So I read One Day in December by Amy Reichert. I gave that 2 stars. It is, she is a Wisconsin-based writer, and she tends to write Wisconsin-based books. And this one was sort of a magical book. So it took place around a Christmas Yule market, and there was a main character, a woman, and they talk about kringles, which I don't know if anybody knows what kringles are outside of Wisconsin, but they're like a Danish pastry. But there was a magical element of romance. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great, but it was fun to read around the holidays and just to get into that feeling. I don't know what feeling that is, the holiday spirit, I guess. And then I read Love on the Brain, which is another Allie Hazelwood book. I gave this 4 stars. I ended up really liking it. I will say that her books are they're not wildly different. So if you like one, you'll likely like another one. Doesn't bother me. I also finished Nothing More to Tell by Karen McManus. In my brain, I gave it 3.5, but I couldn't give a 0.5 on Goodreads, so I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. Overall, I thought this was good. It's a teenage whodunit. There's a teacher that was murdered, and these students are trying to figure out what happened. A lot of twists and turns in this one. I didn't feel like the ending had a great resolution, which is why I think I didn't give it 4 stars. But I really like her writing. She definitely has a formula. I'm a fan of her formula. I have at least 2 other books of hers in my queue that I will be reading this year. And then I read a duology. These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends, both by Chloe Gong. She's a very young writer, and this is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet in Shanghai in the 1920s. I actually have a lot of feelings about it. Most of them are positive. I thought the first book was quite long and boring, and part of that problem was the narrator on Audible. She was not my favorite. She whispered, which why are you whispering to me? I don't like that at all. So it was very difficult to listen to. But actually, I wasn't liking it. And then the last kind of third of the book, it finally started to click. And the second book was much better. And I'd actually gone on Amazon to read reviews. The first book was very poorly reviewed. The second book had much stronger reviews. So I don't know what happened. She's young. I think she did a pretty good job for her age. I think if I had to guess, it seems like she had a book and they made her make it into a series. And it shouldn't have been. The second narration was even worse than the first. Not only did the narrator whisper, but then she started putting in Russian accents, which is fine because the Montegov family is Russian, but I didn't need her help in giving them Russian accents. It's just, she was just a terrible narrator. But I was able to get past that and enjoy the story. It is retelling of Romeo and Juliet, so we all know how that ends, but I thought it was really well done and good on her, and I gave the first book 3 stars and the second book 4 stars. So right now I'm currently reading A Summer Affair by Ellen Hildebrand. Guys, I don't like it. I'm trying to push through every night before bed. I don't like the writing. I hate the plot. It seems like unnecessary, but I'm more than halfway through, so I'm gonna finish it, but in no way would I recommend it. First of all, I should have known from the title, A Summer Affair. There's cheating involved, and we all know I hate a cheater, and I just don't think the writing is great. So, I don't know. I don't think I'll read another book by Erin Hildebrand after this one. If any of you have read anything by her and you think I should give her another chance, let me know, but this one is not my thing. I'm listening to Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, and I like this a lot. This was on many best of 2022 book lists, and I decided to check it out, and I am not unhappy I did. It is quite good. The premise is 2 friends that met as young teenagers, and they have a falling out, and they reconnect as young adults, and they end up making a video game together. And it's again got that technical brain, but then it's also complemented with this just gorgeous writing, and I am really enjoying it. It's probably one of the most beautifully written books that I'll read this year. I am enjoying it a lot. So highly, highly, highly recommend that one. And yeah, that's what I've been reading. So if you have hung on, thank you very much. I know this went from nighttime to daytime, back to nighttime. Thanks for sticking with me, and I will be back in a couple days to wrap up the make-alongs. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you're knitting and reading if you feel like it. Bye.